Okay, so this is module 11. This one we're going to be talking about secondary applications and interviews. So, okay, let's go ahead and get started. Just as a brief overview, we're going to be talking about what secondary applications are and why each one is school specific, getting started early and why you should get started early, the objective of secondary applications, and continuity and harmony. The cost of secondary applications and some fee assistance waivers that we might have. And then we'll be talking about interviews, so some interview formats, because there are multiple different ones, how to prepare for interviews, and then some bonus things about interviews. Okay, so what are secondary applications? So each school has a specific set of values and missions, whether it be service, equity, leadership, etc. And they want to see that you align with their mission and would be a good fit for their school. So it's a separate school-specific application geared towards getting to know you better. So there's often a heavy focus on alignment of values and the fit with the mission, their culture and values, and diversity and what you bring to the school. So some questions tailored towards answering this, including if you fit with their culture and their curricular model, like problem-based learning as an example of a curricular model. They also want to know what you bring to the school with your life experiences. And this is also an opportunity to add details that didn't fit into other parts of your primary application. So for a timeline, almost every school is probably going to send you a secondary as long as you meet their minimum GPA and MCAT requirements. So unfortunately, it's not much of an indication that you'll be accepted or invited for an interview. They generally generate income for schools, so that's why they rarely filter them. And most schools will send secondaries 2 to 4 weeks after they receive your primary. And so it takes a while for MCAS to send you to the school and for the school to process your application, which is why it takes a little bit of time. And submitting your secondaries early can only help you because all schools are rolling admissions. So the sooner you submit your application and the sooner it's in front of the admissions committee, the better. So it's very important to pre-write your secondary applications. So to find prompts, you can go to secondaryapps.com or Student Doctor Network. And depending on how many schools you apply to, you can probably get these done in between submitting your primary and then when you get the secondary. Again, this is rolling admission, so it's very important to pre-write and have time for someone to take a look at your secondary application and edit it. Again, the sooner the better. Okay, so how to complete a secondary. Again, so copy and paste answers kind of defeat the purpose of a secondary. Each school is going to, that doesn't mean that you can't share ideas from each school. So some things that some people do is they identify about like 8 to 10 of the most common secondary themes, and then they draft like modular answers, like core stories that you can adapt to different schools. And that way you can leave space for school specific details like their mission language, their curriculum offerings. And then you can store these drafts for when you get your secondary. So how to write essays that are thoughtful and authentic. You want to avoid generic language, again, because each school is specific. They read thousands of essays. They can tell the difference between a thoughtful, reflective, school-specific answer and a rushed, formulated response. So it's important to show, don't tell. So replace statements like, I am passionate about serving underserved communities with stories and examples. It's also important to mirror the school's own language. So if a school emphasizes social justice or leadership, reflect that with examples from your own experiences. Also, you want to be specific. You can name programs or community sites, research institutes, or curricular features that genuinely interest you. And also, it's very important to answer the question. They genuinely want to know the answer. You also should make sure to remain authentic, like avoid over-polishing to the point where your voice disappears. And also, I think it's important to emphasize your why that you wrote in your primary with all of these answers. Again, using the same secondary at every school is impossible and equally ill-advised. Also, one thing I want to mention, in adversity challenge essays, as I'm sure you did with your primary, you want to avoid venting or listing hardships, emphasis your growth and why that would make you a better doctor. Okay, so the cost of secondaries, the average cost is between $75 to $200, which is expensive, so it's important for you to be aware of this in advance. There are some fee waiver programs this is the MD one and this is the DO one. And if you're eligible for these, you can apply. But I just want to say fee waivers do not guarantee waived secondary fees, but most schools will accept them. So there's no way to know if or when an interview will come. So you should begin preparing for interviews probably right after you submit your secondary applications. So you can prepare by going to your pre-health advising office. Maybe there are some campus mentorship programs you can talk to. There are also online mock interview platforms, which we'll talk about later. And often, if you know any current medical students, they are more often willing to help. So there are multiple different interview formats that your school could give you. There are traditional, which is a one-on-one or two faculty members with you. And this is more of a format of tell me about yourself, like the kind of thing that you're used to. There's also multiple mini interviews, which I had never heard of before. And that's stations sometimes with a prompt like role playing or ethical dilemmas. And with these, it's less about the right answer and more about your reasoning, communication, and your composure. So also it's important to remember that most interviews are now virtual. So camera hygiene is very important, and that means looking into the camera. You don't want to be looking at yourself. And then lighting as well, you want to make sure is good, and that you have a stable internet connection, and also that you dress professionally. Okay, so the objective of the interview is not to be impressive or to show off. Not to be impressive or to show off. They already find you impressive, or else they wouldn't have invited you for an interview. The point is to show that you are a normal person, and to show that you're a good fit for the school, personality, values, and culture-wise. So they want to see that you're humble and teachable, and that you're a good fit for the school, and to see how you react to difficult situations. So mock interviews, I did a lot of these. I felt like it was very helpful. The objective is to sharpen your delivery and to expose blind spots. So, and also to get used to certain language in a professional setting. So what I did is I did mock interviews with people who knew me and people who didn't know me, and I felt like both were very helpful. For people who know you, they can help catch inconsistencies and missed opportunities. If you did something and didn't mention it, and they think it would be a good thing to mention in your interview, that's a great thing. Also, for people who don't know you, it's a more accurate simulation. And they can help evaluate clarity, first impressions, professionalism, and give unbiased feedback. And also, this is a great time to practice managing eye contact and get rid of any nervous tics you might have. So bonus interview pitfalls. So one interview pitfalls that I see a lot of students do is having too heavy a focus on appearing impressive, which we talked about earlier. Also, with some ethical questions, there's often no right answer. Sometimes it's questions that people have been arguing about for years. They just want to see how you react and respond, and that you have good judgment and a moral framework. Also, it's very important to review your application, because they probably will ask you about things that you put on your application, and it's important to not be inconsistent. Also, you should get used to saying, I don't know. Med schools know that you don't know everything or even much at all. And so they're not looking to see if you would be a good physician because you're not there yet. They want to know if you would be a good medical student. So you should show them that. Again, med schools want you to be teachable and humble. All right, here are some common questions that I have linked just as examples for you to prepare. You can find some questions on SDN. That's what I did to prepare, and I drafted some answers. But again, it's very important to be authentic and stick to your values and not read off of a script, because they can tell. And it's much easier to talk about something that you truly believe in and aligns with your values and know about than it is to talk about something that you don't. All right, see you in the next module.